you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to LaFleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Wednesday, May 21st. Thanks for watching, everyone. In all transparency, this was recorded prior to Game 1 of the Western Conference semis between the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. Thanks for watching on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Souvlaki Authentique. You know them for their amazing and delicious Greek food with 7 locations. New at Souvlaki Authentique. For a limited time, you can get your order delivered for just $2 when you order on their website. Yes, just $2. So go to Souvlaki Authentique and enjoy fast, hassle-free delivery at an unbeatable price. And they now have a loyalty program to sign up before your next order and start accumulating points. Who's going to win the semis? Well, the Florida Panthers are off to a good start with a very convincing win last night over the Carolina Hurricanes. Go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200. If your first bet loses, scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Without further ado, let me bring him in. He's TSN hockey analyst, a director of scouting. Craig Button, how are you?
I am great, Tony. How are you doing today?
Very, very, very well. Thank you very much. A special hello to Shane Gaumont and Master Control. Craig, we're watching the NHL playoffs, and then there were 4. And so I think tonight a great topic would be, what have we learned from these playoffs? What can the Montreal Canadiens take from this? What can they learn to add? And what can they learn not to do? Because obviously some got it right and others got it wrong.
You're funny, Tony. So on that hint, I think that every team is trying to find a way to do the right things, and you believe in what you're doing. That's why I think it's important to go back to the template. And what are the templates for success? There are certain ingredients that are necessary to have playoff success. And that's it's not going to change. It simply is not going to change. And to understand what you have and what you are absent of and what you need more of to strengthen and bolster your lineup, I think that is the key question that every organization should be asking themselves. So much of the time, and I remember I went through this in Calgary, and I bring it up because it wasn't about an individual player. It was about trying to build your team in a manner that would give you success. And the example that I give is Corey Stillman. Now, Corey was drafted as a centerman out of the OHL by the Calgary. Then they switched him over to wing. I'd watched Corey for a long time. I'd watch him be a really good center. And when I came to Calgary, I thought, like, okay, we got to – the center ice position is really important. Really, really important. And we asked Corey to, hey, try playing in the middle. We'll put you in the middle. And he did. He really embraced it and really worked hard at it. But he was entrenched as a winger at that point in his career. And he was a good winger. He was a good offensive winger. But we still had this gap in the middle of our ice. I wasn't looking to trade Corey Stillman, but I was looking to strengthen our center ice position. And ultimately, what ended up unfolding was we acquired Craig Conroy, and we traded Corey Stillman. It wasn't because we didn't like Corey Stillman. It wasn't because we were trying to trade Corey Stillman, but that was ultimately what we said yes to. And the first question that was asked to me in the press conference was, where are the goals going to come from? And my answer was simply this. I said, we're looking for a lot more wins. And we feel that strengthening our center ice position is a key to moving in that direction. And this is the price and this is the cost. And Corey won 2 Stanley Cups and was a really good player in the NHL. Craig Conroy was a really good player for the Calgary Flames and helped the Calgary Flames take steps forward. So that's the example that I use. I don't think it's so much about focusing in on one player. You focus in on what you need at really what I would call foundational positions. And when I talk about the template, if you're not strong up the middle of the ice, you're not going to win. I traded for Chris Drury and Stefan Yell in a dual move. It wasn't because we didn't think Derek Morris wasn't a good player, but we wanted to build our center ice. To this day, in 2004, the Calgary Flames went to the Stanley Cup final. And Darryl Sutter did a great job, and I'm not taking anything. But he traded Chris Drury at the beginning of that year. Conroy neutralized LeCavalier. They had nobody that could neutralize Brad Richards. My bet is, if Chris Drury was there, Calgary Flames might have had a better chance to be the Stanley Cup champions of 2004. Build from what your team needs based on
you.
play.
All right. Okay, so I didn't think I was going to go to Toronto this early, but
I
think everyone can agree that the center ice position is so huge. We can go down the list of the last 20 Stanley Cup winners and just see just how deep their teams were at the center ice position. So with that said, explain to me how a team with Auston Matthews, John Tavares, and Ryan O'Reilly several years ago wasn't able to win 2 rounds, and how a team of Auston Matthews, John Tavares, Scott Lawton, I'll even add Max Domi if you want, to that list this year, wasn't able to win 2 rounds. Can you explain that to me?
Okay, so I'm talking about center ice, and you've taken it to the center ice position. I don't think that the Toronto Maple Leafs are hard enough to go long enough in the playoffs in the forward group. I don't think they have what it takes. Joe Thornton got traded by the Boston Bruins. He was the first overall pick. Hart Trophy winner, Art Ross Trophy winner. I'll take my chances on Joe Thornton up the middle of the ice with my team, but it wasn't going to work in Boston. And so they said, we got to make a trade. And we can look back at what it was, but it was the idea that we got to change things. It's not about just talent. It's about what you have in terms of you need centers, but you need centers that can drive play. Are you going to tell me that Auston Matthews right now has shown an unequivocal ability to drive play when it matters the most? Nobody would answer yes to that.
I had a discussion, but talking with my buddy who's a big Florida Panthers fan, past couple of years, Stanley Cup final, he's been there. He goes to Florida. He encourages his team. And throughout the series, we were talking about Auston Matthews, and then we were talking about Barkov, of course, right? And what Barkov has and Matthews doesn't have. And my buddy and I, we kept on going back, and we just kept on coming to the conclusion that Auston Matthews, in our opinion, almost plays more like a winger who wants to be void of responsibility than he plays like a Barkov type centerman who is willing to play that 200-foot game and will sacrifice picking up points for team wins. We also, we went as far, and this is probably unfair, but I'm going to say it anyway, because it's judging his character, and I don't know Auston Matthews personally, so I probably shouldn't do that, right? But for the sake of just talking here, I'll tell you what we said. We went as far as saying that Auston Matthews, from the outside, from what we see in his play, he almost comes across as a guy who, if his team loses but he scores a couple of goals, he's not overly devastated. And maybe that's unfair, but that's kind of like the impression that we get.
Yeah, okay. So, people make impressions and they look at body language and everything. I'll be very clear. I'll take my chances with Auston Matthews. I don't think this is about Auston Matthews. I think Brendan Shanahan deserves the lion's share of playoff failure squarely on his shoulders, because he created an environment where they thought being artistic and being a skilled artistic team during the regular season would translate to success in the in the playoffs. And it doesn't. The template is set. We know what the template is in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So you come in and you're the first overall pick, and Marner and Nylander and Tavares come in. This is the way we're going to play. We're going to be artists. We're going to be artistic. The playoffs aren't about artists. You need artistry, You need grit. You need grind. You need battle. And that's how they've been conditioned to play. Because that's what Shanahan wanted, and that's what Kyle Dubas did. You know what Toronto was, Tony? It was an experiment lab. It was an experiment lab where they thought, Shanahan and Dubas thought they could change the template of success in the playoffs. It wasn't about, well, we'll add a little bit more of this. We'll be a little bit better. We'll add a little bit more skill here, a little bit more grit there. They wanted to change the template. They thought they could win with all artistic play. It's a fantastic, spectacular failure. Austin Matthews doesn't know anything else. And we're going to blame Austin Matthews? Sorry, not me.
I hear you. And you know what, Shanahan, you're right. This was his baby, and this was his thing. And he's been there for a long time. And all right, okay. So, you know, when you were talking about this, there was a play, and I'm sure you've seen it. William Nylander goes down the right wing. He takes a wrist shot, save. The puck it goes to the back of the net. He does a flyby, and the puck is right around him, and he can go there and battle for it. He's not interested in the puck whatsoever, and he just goes to the bench to seek a change. It's something that a Florida Panther player, based on the way they've been conditioned and the way they've been built, would never do.
It's all about conditioning. It was all Sheldon Keefe, Kyle Dubas, puck possession. We'll keep the puck. We'll make sure we have the puck all the time. We won't give it up. We won't dump it in. We'll turn it over in the neutral zone. Who cares? They've had great success in the regular season, and they're very talented players. The playoffs demand something very different. They demand a level of detail and an attention to detail that is uncompromising. It requires an attention to competitive intensity that is non-negotiable. But when you're told to go out and be artistic and to go out and hold the puck and make plays, and this is the way we're going to beat you, what do you expect from the players? Like, if you condition, do you have a dog?
I did.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not trying to bring up, but when you train your dog, you can either train your dog to go about things the way that allow it to be docile and to, hey, when it has to do nature's business, you know that it's going to go outside, you know it's not going to jump up on the couch, right? If you don't be mad at the dog when the dog isn't obedient and doesn't do the things.
It's your
that's
fault.
What I'm saying. I'm not blaming the players.
Yeah.
And we can say players are wired differently. I said this about Joe Thornton. I said it about Patrick Marleau. I said it about Steve Yzerman. I said it about Alexander Ovechkin. I'll say it about Matthews. I'll say it about Marner. I'll take my chances with those guys on my team. I think the environment created a situation where they haven't understood or have ingrained in them the importance of these details and the intensity and determination required.
Would you trust Austin Matthews with the huge responsibility of having the C in that market for that team, for that organization, to go around and tell all the other players in that locker room about what you just talked about and make sure that they're all playing a certain way?
Well, it's going to take time. So Craig Berube comes in. Craig Berube knows. Make no mistake about it. This is Craig Berube's first year. So he's Austin Matthews has been there since 2016, that season. So think about everything. Again, I'll go back to the training a dog, right? Mm-hmm. And you think you're going to get a dog, and you come in and you go, okay, we got to change things. You got to undo things before you can start to instill things.
So
I
let's
think
take a look at
Craig Berube did that this year, and the Leafs had some success. They did, but when it gets to be really hard against a team, Florida Panthers, who are dialed into that, who are wired into that, it overwhelms you.
So let's take a look at how the Montreal Canadiens are built and where the Montreal Canadiens are going, and the way Kent Hughes, Jeff Gorton, the culture, Marty St. Louis. One of the knocks on Jeff Gorton, who is a very, very important piece to this Montreal Canadiens puzzle, let's be honest, I know you know that, was that his team in New York got pushed around by Tom Wilson and the Washington Capitals. The Canadiens in round one got hit hard, and they got hit often by the Washington Capitals. And most observers say that the Montreal Canadiens need to improve in a lot of areas, but they need to add bigger players, more physical players, more nastiness and all that stuff, more experienced players. Are the Canadiens right now, in some way, shape, or form, making the same mistake as Toronto? Yes or no? And what do you think they got to do to avoid such an issue?
Absolutely no. And there's going to be times when you come up against opponents that can overpower you and overwhelm you. Tell me who Tom Wilson doesn't overpower and overwhelm. You know, it's not just about, people say, oh, you got pushed around. Like, the games are hard. There's players at different stages of their career, how you handle it. When I was in Dallas, we played we were a good team. We played the San Jose Sharks, and Daryl Sutter was the coach. They were a hard team. They were a hard team that was going to physically come after us and physically try to break us. So what are we going to tell our players? We're not going to tell Mike Modano, go out there and start running and hitting everybody. But here's what we told our players. If your game is about battling, the battle on the puck, but if they knock you down, here's what our response was. You come back with 2 supercharged shifts. You show your opponent, you keep knocking us down, that's okay. We're coming back, and we're going to come back even hungrier. And if you got players that are competitive and you instill that in your group, you can do that. Years later, when I was in Calgary, I was telling Kelly Rudy about that. He goes, oh my God, Craig, it was hilarious. He goes, we were on the bench. He was with San Jose. He goes, and that was our game plan. And he goes, Brian Marchment came off the ice, everything, and Daryl's, you got to hit him. And we are hitting him. It's not working.
Wow.
You got to stand up to the challenges. Scotty Bowman, many years ago, and he's just one example, and he said, you couldn't intimidate Guy Lafleur. People tried to hit him. People leaned on him and everything. It's about what you're not willing to let the other team take you out of your game. Doesn't mean you're not going to get knocked down. Doesn't mean you're not going to take physical hits, but are you going to get back up and keep playing?
Yeah, well,
that's what it's about.
You're right. It all came down to Lafleur, but one of the other reasons why you probably had a hard time intimidating Lafleur is because the Robinsons and the Bouchards and the Lupiens of this world said, play your game, you'll be fine.
Lupien and Bouchards were not on the ice with Guy Lafleur.
Well, that's a good point. That's a really, really good point.
Like, seriously, that argument's never going to work with me.
Got it. No, ultimately it came down to Guy Lafleur. You're right about that.
Yeah, because Guy Lafleur was not going to bow down to resistance.
Yeah,
and he faced tons of it.
He stepped up. You know, he stood up to the Broad Street Bullies in '76 and scored big goals in that Stanley Cup final, right? And he stood up to the Boston Bruins when they said that they were going to rip his head off.
Yep.
And scored big goals in 77, 78, 79. The SIG podcast brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. One of the top fleet employers in Canada, shipenergy.com. Check out the career section. It's a great place to work. Also brought to you in part by, take a look at that beer that was behind me when we started the show. That's Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the summer with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 to 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light, ultra refreshing, and they'll finish it off with Playground. What would you do with $2.5 million? Time to find out. Playground. Every hour you play poker earns you entries into their multi-millionaire maker promotion. Join them as of June 1st from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. for hourly draws and your chance to pick 5 lucky cards, hit a royal flush, and you'll instantly win $2.5 million. For more details, check out playground.ca. Just minutes from downtown Montreal. Right over the Mercier Bridge.
Good. You know, thank you for all the sponsors. Make it happen, and you really do a great job, Tony, with them.
Thank you.
I'm going to bring up Mike Bossy. Mike Bossy refused to fight. This was back in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Mike's brother Pat coached me, and so I knew the Bossies and everything. I'm going to tell 2 parts here. My father was running NHL Central Scouting, and I went with him. I was 13 or 14 years old, and I went to a game where Laval was playing in Trois-Rivières. It was in Mike Bossy's draft year. Michel Bergeron was the coach of the Trois-Rivières Drivers. And my dad said after the game, he goes, I got to go down and see Michel after the game. Now, Trois-Rivières was tough and hard and really good. Laval was a decent team, but they weren't up to the level of Trois-Rivières. Anyway, down to the thing. So he starts talking. I remember sitting there, I'm in the corner, and Michel says to my dad, he goes, Jack, he goes, I tell you, he goes, you can take your stick and hit Mike Bossy right on the top of the head, and he still scored 3 goals. You think you were intimidating Mike Bossy? You think you were taking Mike Bossy out of a game? It didn't matter who was up against Mike Bossy. Mike Bossy was in it. Yeri Curry. I can name so many great players. It's not about how big you are. It's about what resistance you show. And the great players, the big performers, have great resistance. Sam Reinhart's not big. You think he fights through resistance? All the time.
So the fact that the Canadiens were looking at their puzzle a couple of years ago in the 2022 draft, and they said, you know what? We already got some small guys. We need to balance this thing out. And they drafted Juraj Slafkovsky at number 1. The fact that they went out and they said, okay, you know what? Let's go out and let's make a deal for Kirby Dach. Let's bring some size into this lineup. And they went out and they acquired him. There's a couple of players. The fact that they had a line of Dvorak with Anderson, the fact that they had, you take a look at that and you think that they're not putting together an artistic team. And they talked about how important balance is at the end of the year, right? And because of that, you believe that they will avoid this mistake that the Toronto Maple Leafs made?
Absolutely. Because Marty St. Louis understands what it takes to have different types of players to win. Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes have shown that. Jeff has. Jeff was in Boston. Jeff was in Boston when they traded Joe Thornton. He doesn't get enough credit for being a big part of the Boston Bruins, building that team with Bergeron and Krejci and the players they were able to add that helped them win the Stanley Cup in 2011. He wasn't there any longer. He helped the New York Rangers become a very good team. Trust me, you want to pick on Jeff Gorton? Well, tell you what, go after Jeff Gorton like you go after Nick Suzuki, and I'm going to be right there to have his back, 100%. Jeff Gorton's got a tremendous record in my view, and he's more than capable. I'll finish with. I'll stop there.
Yeah, we heard he was the number 1 choice for the New York Islanders, right?
Yeah, he's number 1 choice for me. I don't care about the New York Islanders.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is Jeff knows what he's doing. And when I look at teams, you think you're pushing Nick Suzuki out of a game? You think you're pushing Cole Caulfield out? You can't have a team of small players. You can't have a team that only plays artistically. The bottom line is when we go to Toronto, I don't want to keep talking about Toronto. Yeah. Toronto had it. It was an experiment lab in the biggest hockey market in the planet, led by Brendan Shanahan, and he put Dubas into place, and they thought they could change the template of playoff success. They failed spectacularly. I'm not blaming the players on this. They learned exactly what they were taught. The Montreal Canadiens are not going down that path. Yeah. You need the Docs. You need you need different types of players. Tampa Bay Lightning. Oh, they had Coleman, Gord, and Goodrow. Everybody thought that Tampa Bay Lightning were, are you kidding me? They're trading a first-round draft pick and Nolan Foote for Blake Coleman? Oh, my God, they traded a first-round pick for Barclay Goodrow? It's never about the players. It's about what makes your team better, Tony. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. No, so totally convinced on Jeff Gorton. There's no problem at all with that. You did say something about Marty St. Louis, which, just for the sake of discussion here, I'd love to revisit and continue. When you said, he knows that you need different style of players, different kinds of players. Of course, a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans are going to think about Arbor Xhekaj and say, okay, but Craig, why was he out of the lineup at one point and stuff like that? After watching the playoffs, don't you think it's important to have a player like him? One of the players that sticks out to me, and we'll get back to Xhekaj in a minute, is I've been enjoying watching AJ Greer in the playoffs. Here's a kid from Joliette, right, as they call her, Godeshinu, who has played for 3 teams in the last 3.5 years, who could have been signed by the Montreal Canadiens, but you get the feeling from the outside again that he's not St. Louis kind of player. Agree or disagree? Tell me why.
Well, until Marty St. Louis tells me he isn't, I don't buy into that. I know this about coaches. They they want good players. They want players that help you win. I can't imagine that Marty St. Louis is sitting there turning his back on players that he thinks can help him win. Now, that's a general comment. AJ Greer ends up in a great spot in Florida. He ends up in a great spot. He's on the fourth line. You know, AJ Greer didn't dress for the first 3 playoff games this year.
Yes.
Right? You know that, right?
Yeah, I do know.
So what, does Paul Maurice not like him because he didn't dress him?
I hear you.
No, he fits into a specific area of your team at a specific time. And that, to me, is where AJ Greer, if you're going to start going through, he does. Marty St. Louis wants players that help him win. Yeah. I know that. He doesn't have to tell me that. I know that. So AJ Greer, he just fits there.
Yeah, I got it.
Nicely.
Well, he fits there because you're right. It's a great fit because they play a kind of ground and pound style, right? Paul Maurice continues to tell you that, hey, we're the Florida Panthers, and the way we're going to play is we're going to forecheck. We're gonna be in your face. We're going to be all over you. We're going to finish our hits. We're going to complete our hits. We're going to make you pay a physical toll. And by the time the series starts to get later on in the series, you're going to start to wear down. We wear teams down, and that's how we beat them. The Canadiens, that's not their philosophy, right? They are not a ground and pound team. They are not, we will beat you down and we will wear you down. Maybe Washington had that philosophy versus the Canadiens, by the way. So that's the reason why I asked the question about the player. For sure, the coach wants good players, but does he want to win with players like that way? You just said it. AJ Greer is a great fit for the Florida Panthers. But my next question is, if the Florida Panthers make it to the Stanley Cup final again, and then they make it to the Stanley Cup final 3 years in a row, does that mean that is the trend? That is the winning formula? That is the secret to the caramel bar? That's the recipe right there that you have to put together that kind of team and play that kind of way to go far? Because you know what? Correct me if I'm wrong, but the St. Louis Blues had a similar philosophy in 2019. So did the Boston Bruins in 2011. I think the Vegas Golden Knights did as well, did they not? Big, strong, finished their hits.
Tampa Bay Lightning, Colorado Avalanche, just go through it all. The template's not changing, Tony. I can go back to the 40s. I can go back to the 50s. I can go back to the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. It's not changing. The fundamental parts of the template are not changing. The Florida Panthers have not reinvented the wheel. They are just doing things that they know are critically important to success. Go back and look at the 2004 Stanley Cup champions in Tampa Bay. Just go look at the roster. Just go look at it. Like, it's no different, but everybody wants that. That's why the spectacular failure that are the Toronto Maple Leafs under Brendan Shanahan, because they thought they could change the template. That's the spectacular failure. That is where they ran into problems. Montreal's not doing that. You don't tell me Josh Anderson's not a hard player?
For sure, yes.
Okay. Yoel Armia went down to the minors and came back like as a hardened player. Like, you don't think Jake Evans not a hard player? Keep in mind, too, this about AJ Greer. He was a player that came through as a skilled player. And then all of a sudden now skill isn't part of his game. Now he's bouncing around. And now he ends up in a place, maybe last chance in Florida, and Paul Maurice goes, here's what we need from you. Players sometimes hits a point of maturity where he says, I better start doing this.
Yeah, I got
the bottom line is, like Marty St. Louis, like every other coach, want players that can help win. Yeah, they might say, I want this guy over that guy and everything. Marty St. Louis knows. And don't tell me Montreal doesn't have those types of players, because they do. And they're trying to build it to be stronger and better, just like Florida did. When Florida in 2022 won the President's Trophy, they scored 3 goals in the second round versus Tampa Bay. Got swept 4 straight. Bill Zito said, I got to make some changes. And he did. And that team, not only with Lundell coming into the lineup, the trade for Kachuk, Luosterainen, Mikkola. I mean, people could have had Mikkola. Go and identify what you need. Then find out the players that can fill it, not the other way around.
It's amazing. I was thinking about this. His left side of defense, Forsling was picked up off waivers. Mikkola was signed as a free agent on a 3-year deal, and Nate Schmidt was signed as a free agent on a 1-year deal.
Let me add Kulikov to this too, because talk about coaches.
Yeah,
Paul Maurice had Kulikov in Winnipeg. He knew Kulikov. But Kulikov, and this is not my words, this is Kulikov's words. He goes, I realized I had to be different. And he goes, I was very happy to come because Paul understood what my strengths were. And then he just let me play to my strengths. I didn't feel I had to be this first round pick that had to do everything. There's a maturity that goes with players too. Coaches understand that. Like Paul might as well, I had Kulikov. I don't want him. He knew him. He said, hey, I can work with him. That's another part of being open-minded. And I think Marty St. Louis is very open-minded.
Craig Button says the template hasn't changed. It has for the Sports Celebrity Breakfast, which is now going to be the Sports Celebrity Evening on Sunday, May 25th. And I can tell you that the Sick Podcast will be there. And we're very much looking forward to it because they are going to honor former Montreal Canadiens goaltender Carey Price from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. A VIP cocktail, a meet and greet, and fireside chat with Carey and other Montreal Canadiens players. I've been told that Brendan Gallagher is going to be there as well at the Gelber Conference Center. And this... of course, all the Cummings Center Foundation supporting seniors' mental health and well-being at the Cummings Center. So I will be there. The Sick Podcast will be there, and we will basically record a podcast from there. Tickets on sale now at $360. CJCSFoundation.crowdchange.ca is your website. Craig Button, in ending, your words. The template hasn't changed. Don't change it.
Fundamentally, it hasn't changed, and it's not going to change. And if you want to try to change it, I just give you Exhibit A of the Toronto Maple Leafs as a reason. Don't even go down that path.
And you're convinced the Montreal Canadiens have the template, and they won't change it.
I'm convinced that the Montreal Canadiens know what the template is, whether it be Bob Gainey and Doug Jarvis, Jimmy Roberts, or Chris Nyland, or you have the great, and he should be in the Hall of Fame, Claude Provost, or Dickie Moore, or Bert Olmsted. Just go back and look. Go look at the teams. Yeah, they had Beliveau and they had Richard and they had they had Doug Harvey. We know what they had. Just go look at the other parts of their team. Doug Risebrough, Mario Tremblay, Yvon Lambert. Do I need to go on?
You know what? I think we just found our topic for the next time you and I are going to speak next week on how the Montreal Canadiens can add some second, third, maybe even fourth line players to their lineup, whether it be centermen or wingers. We'll do that with Craig Button. Craig, thanks for doing this, my man. We'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to Shane Gaumont and Master Control, and special thanks to Energy Transportation Group, to Playground, to Bittt Tibi, to Souvlaki Authentique, and to Betway. And special thanks to all of you for watching. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. For Shane Gaumont and Master Control, it's the Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro. Have a great night, everyone.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.